So I have the control, the side monitor with the window I'm streaming, and the only thing I have to do is to change that and give the speaker this for speaking. I hope you don't mind I wear this.
No, no, absolutely not. I'm sorry.
You cannot guarantee me that.
No, I can. You can never. But you
Yeah.
work with a lot of people with kids, and they will never be able.
Yeah. Sorry for that.
No, it's me. Sorry.
Yes. Hello.
The top bar cannot be removed, right?
So we will start in a moment. I tried that, but it does not seem to work. But honestly, I don't really.
Second changes.
I don't really care. We don't have time. Usually there is a way to do Windows less, but I don't want to risk it.
Ja, ja.
So, hey, you can. Happy to see you. They will bring food later. At the moment, there are beers, there is drinks, so feel free to take any drink. Yeah, sure. You have 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to take a drink. There are drinks outside. You're free to take them. They will bring more later on, and they will bring some cold food, no warm. Just saying. Welcome. At the bottom to the left. Bottom to the left. I think it's same as in the restaurants always. So I'm going to mute myself until I'm muted. Yes, you do.
Okay.
You put that.
Better?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
So yeah, then welcome to my first speak. It's a surprise speak. Even Jose has no idea what I'm talking about. Really, he doesn't know. And I usually do a segment called Das tut man.net, useless things from the last drawer. And the goal of this talks is usually to abuse something from the .NET ecosystem and use it the complete wrong way with the hope to learn something. But maybe one or two words about myself. As Jose told before, I'm a team lead here at Swiss Life. This means I'm not really capable of coding anymore because I'm team lead. I've handed over my Visual Studio license. But nevertheless, in my spare time, I'm still a passionate .NET developer, specifically for the backend. And I love to find out useless things. And when I find them out, I cannot be quiet about them. This is one of the problems. And the even worse problem is I have to annoy everybody with what I found out. And thanks that you listen to me now. You're trapped. But yeah, let's see what you could learn about it. Then some random facts and figures. I did an IT apprenticeship by accident. I thought I would develop some school material, but turned out that I will be a software developer afterwards. I'm 40. I have 3 single instance kits, no member-wise cloned ones, so single instances, and my CSS set index is -4. But what do we talk about today? How to beat .NET with its own weapons. This looks like this. Maybe like that. Whoops. Or like that. Or also like that. So that's what you're doing today, but we'll stop this now and go over to the slides. Away from the slides, of course. We have a beautiful small IDE here. Because I had to hand over my Visual Studio license, I just use JetBrains Rider with the university license. And as you might see, what we do is we are trying stuff with dependency injection with the standard DI container tonight. Those talks, they usually, the idea for it appears usually while I'm running, and then the reason is mostly because Jose asked me to do something, and then, oh shit, tomorrow I have to do a presentation, what do we do? And this time I thought, we have this DI container, how could I completely use it the wrong way and try to find out stuff or to manipulate stuff that you should never do at home, but nevertheless we're doing it here in the room. Okay, I've prepared four demo steps, and for the first demo, there is our standard service collection that we all might know. So who has a first question, then please go out because you won't have any chance. But if no question, then this should be clear. And I just register an IBLA interface here. And now we're doing the most boring stuff that we could do. We just try to manipulate this registration. And this is completely banana, so it's a standard thing to do, maybe for unit testing, and it's completely fine to do so in specific cases, but I will show it anyway, then we know at least what the speaking point of this slides or of this demos will be. You could use, of course, not the service provider, but the service collection to replace an existing service, right? And to do so, and this is the reason why I've decided to present it, when replacing an existing registration, you need a service descriptor. You cannot just say, yeah, use that interface with that implementation or with that factory or whatever. You need a service descriptor. And the service descriptor has a constructor that basically takes more or less the same information as you could use with this builder method at singleton, at transient, at scope, to then type of I blah, and just replace it with a new blah blah instance. So basically, this class blah implements I blah, and blah blah implements I blah as well. And if we set the proper breakpoint, and press F5, then we should realize, yeah, of course, we need to get an instance, get service, I blah. Hopefully, it works with applying changes. So, of course, it didn't work. Why should you do auto reload? But yeah, that's more or less clear, right? When I replace an existing registration, it returns then the new registration. All good so far, but that's pretty boring. I thought, what could you do? The first thing that you would never try is everything we try now happens after building the service provider. This means we don't have access to the service collection anymore, and if we do, the provider is anyway built. And I was curious if I could try to inject new instances after the service provider was built. All clear so far. And without going into too deep into the service provider class, I was curious, yeah, where do you have an opportunity to inject code without going too deep into it? And one of the ideas was, okay, let's start with an event. An event is basically a construct where you could register with a callback method, and if that callback method does some malicious stuff or just throws random exceptions, then you would be screwed, and I would be able to compromise existing code with that, right? Did you get that? Anything clear right now? Good. Okay, then I thought, okay, how could I do that in a bit more generic way? Let's jump into this inject malicious code method, and let's see what the service provider gives me as an information. Because right now I have a built service provider in this method, and I have no method to access something, so I cannot see any registration, so there's no service descriptor that I could read out. It's basically just, hey, I want an instance, give me that one, that's it. No other information. But what I want to have is like the possibility to get the service descriptor that existed up here when registering the stuff. I want to get that back. And how do you do that? You write a method, a private one, static service descriptor. Usually you have like a list of that. Call it get service descriptors. This service provider SP. And you tell me when stuff is behind the image. I don't have the image on my screen. And to do so, I use a random technique to get the call site factory. This is indeed the method or the property that is on the service provider. But unfortunately, that call site provider property is an internal property, and the instance you get is also an internal one. So you're screwed. You don't have access to that one. But lucky enough, there is like an opportunity to do like sp.getType, and on that getType thingy you have a getProperty method, and that the getProperty method takes the name of the property and a thing called binding flags. We are using, of course, a reflection now, so this allows me accessing metadata of classes, even if the metadata is private. And these binding flags are predefined up here. This means give me everything that is instance-based, public or non-public. So this goes around the public visibility attribute of a member. And yeah, the rest is invoke method. We will see that later. And then let's do get value on the service provider with that. And with that, I should receive the call site factory. And on the call site factory, if we go in, we see here there's a descriptors property where I could get out the service descriptors. var descriptors. And by the way, I hate var, but I'm too lazy to type in front of people. I hate that even more, so I use var. And also here, get type, get property, give me the service, sorry, the descriptors property with flags again, dot get value from the call site factory, and return the service descriptor array in a casted way. So this should technically work. Hopefully I didn't type anything wrong. And now when we have this service descriptor array, we can start looping over those and do a for each loop over the found descriptors. And on those service descriptors, luckily this is a public class because we previously used it in the first demo. I can then try to get an instance of the field. I tell this one object equals descriptors, and if you look on the descriptor, there is a lot of different stuff in there. We will get into that later on a bit. I will handle two cases: the implementation instance. So when you register like a already instantiated class, you will have it in here. And if that one is null for any reason because it was registered differently with a factory, for example, dot implementation factory, and then I could invoke this implementation factory with that call. And like this, I should get an object, and if this object is null for any reason, then I just ignore it because I'm lazy and I don't want to handle that case in front of people. And now I have an instance of this class, and any registered interface or whatever, I have an instance. And now I use this this result to find all events, and I use here object because it's not null. I know I can use that safely. Or I could tell object.getType, or I could just get on the descriptor.serviceType.getEvents, which is another reflection method that returns all information about potential events on this class. And I will loop through those. Event info. And this event info will then return me from every instance, every event that I have. Now let's go ahead. On event info, we have an add event handler method where I could tell, okay, on that object, just register some random shizzle. And now that's the point where we want to be. The problem is now I have to insert something in here that matches the signature of that event. Let's go back to the timer, to the clock. In this case, I need to have a tick event handler. And the problem is I could now start doing random stuff. We could do that later, maybe, to compile a delegate on the fly, but we will skip that for now. And since I'm a bit lazy, I will just register this interface here at the second demo and register services.add singleton, this tick event handler. This takes a lambda with 2 parameters that I absolutely don't care about. This is why I discard them. If you want to know how to make discards unusable, that's another session I have prepared, but not for now. But we don't do that. Then here we make console.write line, malicious code executed, and then maybe put some dead marks into it to make it really seriously looking. Okay, and that's almost everything we need. The only thing is we need here this delegate instance, and we grab this one from the service provider itself. We take a delegate D and tell basically the service provider, give me an instance of tick event handler, however you do this. But the problem is this is typed, and to be a bit more flexible, I could also use event info dot event handler type, and then when it's registered in the DI space, then it should get in here. And that's the second demo. But of course, if you want to see it running, let's assume I was able to get the service provider anyhow, and there are people registering iService provider itself and injecting it to every class to get then the configuration out. Don't do that shit, never do that, but people do it. And when you're able to grab that one, you have at least now found a little hook, a little tiny hook to hook into every event you would find on every instance around. We are still at demo 1. I need to get rid of the stuff afterwards. On my clock that I just took out of the DI container, I register now a legit callback method and then let it run. And if you see the thing here, you have the malicious code executed. By the way, I'm not a security expert. I'm just a fool trying stuff. So don't blame me for all happening here on the screen. But like this, you have the first possibility to do stuff. But still, this is a bit, yeah, it's not so special, right? So if you think clown there in front, so show us something more interesting, then yeah, sure. Maybe I should not comment out too much stuff. So, okay. The next thing we want to try is we go up again, and in here we see I've registered 2 interfaces, I something and I something else. And the instance that I want to assign to that singleton is a just freshly instantiated something good instance. And in the second part, I use a factory for that. And we want to now try to replace that factory method or that instance to have it returned a different instance after the service provider is built. And this sounds maybe a bit more promising. Here's the code. I have these 2 interfaces, I something and I something else, and something good implements I something and I something else, and so does something bad, right? And the idea is to replace these registrations with the factory or the instance on the fly while the service provider was built. And for that, we go to the malicious code 03 extension method. And in here, now I go specific. I stop searching and I start finding. I just want to have this, service descriptor found. Descriptor equals get service descriptors. That was a bit wrong, sorry. sp.get service descriptor dot get or dot single. Let's make it like this. And then let's search for the descriptor with service type equals type of I something. Then I should have the service descriptor. Let's jump to here and see how it looks like. This service descriptor, if we look into it, there is already an assigned instance, this something good instance, which is pretty empty because it's an empty placeholder class. But the instance is here. And of course, on the service descriptor class, that was wrong again, on this service descriptor class, there you might find this instance property here. And of course, it's read-only, right? You cannot access it, but we use, again, reflection to kick the nuts of this thing. And to do so, we use the descriptor, get, that is wrong, get its type, so we get the descriptor type, and then access a field. And if we go into service descriptor, it makes it, I guess, easier if we just copy paste it. We just use the debugger again. Sometimes it's a bit slow. There we go. I could remove that one. Okay. And then copy the field name with the instance. Copy name. And then re-enable that one. Take the field name. Use the flags. And very important here is to have the non-public binding flag set so that you can access private stuff. And then set value. And here we replace it by something bad. And of course, we have to give it an instance to do so. This instance is the descriptor, and then the instance that we assign is something bad. Let's try. Before we try, we should also use it. We should also go here and take a new instance for something 1 equals sp.get I something. That's the one we've replaced. And that should make it. Let's see. Jose, I completely forgot about the time. When did I start? 20 minutes. Oh, okay, that's good. Then we will skip one and maybe come back. All good. No, I can make it in that time. No problem. Okay, we have the descriptor. Yeah, sure, every time. But I maybe cannot answer it, but easy. Okay, now I have the service descriptor. Let's take a look to the good one again. Then let's replace it. And then we should find this backing field replaced by something bad. And if we grab another instance, we have switched that one out. And yeah, this was possible, but I'll show you something else. When I do it here, and we try it again, then I have a problem. And this is another thing that we might tackle in the next step. When I do it before I replace that instance, of course, then I get returned something good. When I then replace the default instance in the service descriptor and call it again, you would maybe expect it to be something bad, but that's not the case. It's still something good. Any idea what that could be? The worst nightmare of every developer? No, it's not time zones. It's not null. You see it's no exception. Yeah, sure, caching. It's always, so if it's not time zones or null reference, then it's caching, usually. Then reboot and everything is fine again until tomorrow. But yeah, this is a bit bad for my demo now. I have now two paths. One is I could show you how also to replace the factory method, which is more or less just replacing the delegate here the same way with grabbing around the property and set the backing field to a new factory with the same caveat that it only has effect when not yet used, so not yet cached. And the second option would be we could try to do this a bit more in detail. Yeah, sure.
What if you use instead of add singleton in line 22?
I guess it did not work. Transient. Then you have to do the factory. I couldn't remember. Yeah, that could work, but I'm not 100% sure. I need to try that out, but I don't have the thing ready now. But I will tell you tomorrow. Okay? That's a good one. I really switched back to singletons because it was easier to do, or it had more edge cases. This is the reason, but I couldn't really remember what happened up there. Okay. Now let's go to the fourth option. What happens if you already took out an instance? How to fix that? Let's jump into here. I would just like remove the code a bit and go to the service provider again. And there's another interesting property on the service provider. Yeah, okay, it's not a property, it's a private field and you shouldn't know about it, but if you go to the call site factory, then you should see, no, sorry, here on the service provider itself. There is like a property, realized services. And this realized services thing is a private concurrent dictionary, and this concurrent dictionary contains information about how to build new instances. And this is a really hard thing. This is really hardcore what happens inside. It involves searching of the right class, injecting dependency into each other, tracking circles and stuff. This is pretty complex here. But what happens if we screw that up and just replace it in that collection? And this is the last thing I want to show. This still does not work perfectly, but it's something worth trying. Now I'm just getting an instance of another service, iCleanup service, and this iCleanup service is something that is injected in cleanup hosted service as a setup. And I didn't manage it yesterday evening to do it with the cleanup hosted service, but at least I achieved to replace the file cleanup service after it was created the first time. And this cleanup service has a proper implementation and has a malicious implementation of the same interface. And of course, I want to swap the one with the other, right? And to do so, I start again with a service descriptor, and I'll copy over that code because it basically involves the same thing as before, the boring stuff that we already did. It just involves of replacing the field in the service descriptor, and this time it's the implementation type. So the registration up there is not via new instance, is not via factory method, it's just plain this interface stat class. And that you can do with just replacing the type, so where is it? The implementation type property. When that's replaced, it will work after the first time. So when you did not take a new instance out of the DI container before you swap, all is good, but we assume that already instances are created. And now, what do we need? I guess we need a debugger to see what is present in the collection now, in this realized services collection. Come on. Let's go ahead, and if we look into it, we will see that the realized service collection has an iCleanup service already created with a random function where you don't have access to anything because everything is internal. You don't have any chance to access that stuff, but we'll do so. And that's the goal of this little exercise here. And I tried to do it with RS stands for realized services. Service provider dot get what should that do? Who loves this AI stuff? Who hates it sometimes? Yeah, me too. Okay, I get the type of this the service provider instance again, then get the field that we have seen before, realized services. And if you think I'm writing that by heart, no, I'm typing it from a sheet of paper, so that you don't get like complexes afterwards. Yeah, this is it. With that, I get the concurrent dictionary out, and on that concurrent dictionary, we should now remove our instance. And removing that on a thing that you cannot assign to a variable because you don't have any type of that, you cannot access this type information. We will do rs.getType.invokeMember, and here we call a so-called try-remove method. And this try-remove method, of course, needs to be called with certain binding flags. The binder is usually a null value. Then we call it on the realized services collection. And to invoke it, we need to say which key we want to remove it. This is type of file cleanup service. And the method, let me switch over afterwards, takes out parameter, and therefore I need to pass a second argument, which could be null in that case. And then let's run it and see maybe a bit before everything happens here. Jump to that line of code. Now we have the realized services collection, which still has this this interface in here. And we might also take a look to the class, jump to type source, try remove. This is the try remove method. It takes basically the key and an out parameter with a value that is removed. And this is here, this is the key, and this is the out parameter. Long story short, go ahead this one, take a look to the collection, now it's empty. Okay, now that I did this, I could try to get out the infected service again, but unfortunately, it didn't work. So the reason is the cache knows that there is already a factory method registered that has been taken away for any reason. But why shouldn't we build our own factory method without having access to the types? And this is the last thing we could try. And for that one, we need two things. Maybe I copy over quickly the type. This here. Then we have it on the screen just as an information. This is the type of the concurrent dictionary. And what we now need is this function. This is a delegate that we need to create and to behave as we want to have it. Plus, of course, we need then to add this delegate combined with a key, how we in the same way we have removed it before. And what I want to have first is I want to have this type information in a variable. And this type information could easily be extracted by type realized services, or let's call it factory type. And shut up. We use realized service dot get type dot get generic arguments. We take not the C arguments here, we take that argument here. We take that one out. Then we know the type of this factory method. And if there was only a possibility to create code on the fly. So who has ever worked with expression trees? Some of you. There's a possibility to create a really easy possibility to create a delegate on the fly while code is running. And this starts with an expression. Var new object expression or something like this. This class is called expression. And the first thing we want to do is we want to have a constant expression, and this constant expression just returns a new malicious cleanup service. The problem is now this is typed, and I need to cast it expression dot convert. We need to cast it to what was it? To ifile cleanup service, exactly. So we take this expression and convert it to type of ifile cleanup service. This is basically the whole expression, but we need to define what the expression gets as a parameter, because the delegate takes a service scope, iService scope, or a class implementing that, plus returns an object. Returning an object is already done here, except that I screwed up some Glemmerle. Yep. And we also need to have like a parameter. That's expression dot parameter, and this parameter is can be extracted from here, from that factory type. This is basically the type of the parameter. dot get generic arguments. I'm picking out this one here, 0. Okay. And the parameter is called scope. So, all good. And then we can compile our delegate. We call it func because we're creative. And this expression dot lambda takes now the new object expression and the param. And when done so, I can compile it to a delegate. And then I should be able to execute it. And since I don't care about any parameter, I can pass it an object array and just throw null at it. That's it, hopefully. What did I do wrong? Maybe use var. I'm still debugging. Okay. Once again, func. Now it's method name expected. Func 2. Maybe I need to invoke it. Dynamic. Sorry, I screwed up. So now I have this factory thing that returns, hopefully, something useful. Let's go ahead, remove it from the collection, build that thing. Oh shit, that's not good. Factory type. I screwed up here. This should be, has nobody seen that? Like, man. That's, I feel bullied. Okay, now there we go. And here we have our invocation done. Now, the last thing we need is we have this realized services collection that we've cleared out in the beginning. Then we have created some function that is able to replicate what was in there before, but the bad way around. Now we need to re-add it, and to re-add it, I'm a bit lazy. I just take the remove functionality from up here, make it try add, and of course, as the first parameter, we have the same key that we just removed before, and as a second parameter, we have this delegate we just created up there. Boom, F5. Afterwards, I'm done, hopefully, when it works. Okay. Now maybe I just restart again, that we have the direct comparison before removing. Let's see the RS thing down there. Yeah, we just see it. Okay, perfect. Here is the iFile cleanup thingy. Then we remove it, then it disappeared. Then we do a lot of magic stuff. Then we add it again. And we see here we have our registration in there. And we have this expression. Beautiful. And now, the moment of truth, when we try to grab an iFile cleanup thing, we completely messed up. Yeah. I did something wrong in the lambda again, which was to expect. iFile cleanup service. This seems to be the problem. This one here. I couldn't tell you what exactly was mistyped.
With your expressions, you've got two constants. Was one meant to be a convert?
Oh yeah. this one here. Nice one. But the convert, let me think. And by think, I mean look on the cheat sheet. Okay. Maybe. You know what? I did prepare the demo.
Here's one I've made earlier.
I'm sorry? Okay.
Here's one I've made earlier.
Yeah. But yeah, just to have it completed, we go down here in this demo. And I don't know how Jose handles it, but maybe you can. Oh, come on. Now I'm in hell. Yeah, it's afterwards. I'm done. I'm sweating already, so this should be enough for today. And I don't want to show you more because yeah, it will be a dangerous weapon that you hopefully never use. But really, this code is the same, and in that case, the malicious file cleanup service will be returned when asking directly. So this means now when you have no possibility to hook into the startup sequence early, and somebody already did some instances, you still have the possibility to replace stuff. But the problem is when you directly ask for that interface, that works well, but when you get an instance of that cleanup hosted service where the interface is injected, there seems to be another cache around. And this cache indeed exists on the call side. So if you go ahead again to the service provider, to the call side factory, then you see a call side cache in there. And since the structure of this thing is so annoying and time 30, 40 minutes is short, I decided to stop here. But pretty sure when you start removing things from the cache here, you would achieve as well. So everything could be done with that puppy here. And yeah, you would be able to scare your coworker as hell when trying that. So yep, this is basically everything I've prepared. I hope it was a bit of fun, a bit of deep dive session into the DI container. Yeah, then let's switch over.
So we take now 5 minutes to change to the next speaker, and we will. So 5 minutes, and we are back.
Hello.
We are back. So we are going to start, and I'll give the word to Arindam.
Okay.
It is yours.
Perfect. Should we wait or should we start?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Arindam Mitra, and I work in Apéro Solutions. It's an energy and a trading company. I am working in the capacity of cloud services lead. I have a team spread across in India and in UK, Madrid, and in Switzerland. And I specialize in Azure and DevOps. And I'm also a Microsoft MVP in developer technologies and also in Azure infrastructure as a code since last 2 years. So this is like, my GitHub profile where you can find all the details. My blog posts, all my awards and everything, whichever you want to see. And I normally try to automate everything which is possible. I mean, like, so that's the core area of mine. I am also in dev.to. This is my blog site. So if you find something interesting, look for it. It is all there. I'm also in LinkedIn. I am also in Sessionize, and I'm also in Twitter. And today, the topic which I'm going to present is CDK for Terraform, and this is a series which I'm starting. I started last year. So let's make it a little bit interactive. How many of your, like, you all are coming from different companies. How many of you, like, are actually building, like, when you're starting a project or something, how many of you are having that platform or the framework available for you to build your own infrastructure? Or do you have to wait for your cloud platform team or a DevOps team to provide you the infrastructure and then you start with it? Just a question. So you have a platform or you build your own infrastructure. Okay. So you also have it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that I know. That I'm completely aware of how group is working. But what about the others? Define complicated. Just in one line. Just.
I think we're moving into a more structured setup now.
Okay.
So we have an IT team of one.
Okay.
So they get the operation.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else, like, or you guys are only deploying applications or data, or are you also, like, have the flexibility from your platform team to deploy your own cloud services and do things? Because that is what is cloudification. If you have to wait, like, if you have to wait for, like, some cloud infrastructure engineers that, they will give you all the infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, and then only you have the flexibility of deploying your data platform or your application platform, then that is not cloud, unfortunately. And this is where, the CDK for Terraform is coming up. And this, I started it because, we started in our company 2 years back the concept called decentralized DevOps. I have an article out there in my blog post. This is what. So the decentralized DevOps is something, which we started with the mindset that, there are two basic problems. One is like, yes, we want to go to cloud. Yes, but what is the first step? We need to have the infrastructure. Okay, good. Then somebody goes to ServiceNow or Jira, and then they raise a ticket that, okay, I need this, a bill of material, a BOM. And finally, what happens is that they have to wait for 7-10 days, and then the infrastructure team or the cloud platform team becomes the major blocker, or they are exactly in the line of critical path of the project delivery, because something is dependent on them and they cannot do it. And what decentralized DevOps is saying is very simple, that, like, the organizations and everybody needs to build a framework, and that framework can be a code-heavy automation or an IDP portal, internal developer portal, with which you basically can deploy any services which you want in the cloud with certain guardrails, compliance, security, all embedded in that automation framework, so that, you have the flexibility to deploy services, but you cannot do anything outside that. That is what is decentralized DevOps, which means that tomorrow if you have an idea, you want to do it, and your project manager or your line manager is willing to take that cost, you can go to an internal developer portal, set it up, and do it. That is how we are doing it. Now, why I explained you this, because we are a heavy user of Terraform. In our company, we are very much using Terraform. The only reason we are using Terraform is because it's multi-cloud. But the reason is also not that why we are using Terraform, because there are a lot of programming languages. You have to understand which infrastructure as a code, bless you. I mean, like, you have to have like, you have to know that why you are selecting that particular infrastructure as a code. Now, if my company is only running in Azure, why would I go for Terraform? I would stay with Biceps. If my company is running multi-cloud, GCP, Alibaba, Azure, and everything, I will go for an infrastructure as a code which has multiple providers. If my company is completely Kubernetes oriented, I will go for Crossplane. I will never go for Terraform. So selection of that whole infrastructure as a code is also a unique art which an architecture team or a solution provider team has to give you. It cannot be that, okay, one fine morning, I'm taking a shower, okay, I like Terraform, I'll start implementing Terraform. It's not a shower thought. It has to be very, very concise. It has to be like justified that why I'm doing that. So we are doing Terraform because our offices in Poland are using GCP. Our offices in Switzerland is using Azure, and our offices in Madrid is using AWS. That's why we are using Terraform. When we were using Terraform and everything, the million-dollar question was that how to make that framework available. Because sooner or later, what we realized is a project is coming. One person from my team has been allocated to that project, and he is building the infrastructure together with the application team. This is one project. And slowly, slowly, it will be 10, 20, 40, 100, which means number of projects is directly proportional to number of engineers, which means that sooner or later, being a technical lead, I will become a people's manager because I have 100 people. Would you like to run that particular team, or would you like to run a very, very technology-driven team? It's very simple. So that is why you have to move from a project-centric view to a product-centric view, because as soon as you have a product, then your team is becoming the center of excellence, and you are enabling all the developer team that you can build and you can run. Because every company has more number of developers than more number of DevOps engineer or infrastructure engineer. So if you are enabling them, which means that you are removing yourself from the critical path, and you are maintaining a product with certain guardrails, and you're enhancing it every day. And this is why we thought that, okay, CDK for Terraform. Now, what is CDK for Terraform? CDK stands for Cloud Development Kit and Terraform. So Terraform is always like running in HCL, HashiCorp configuration language. It's a pure infrastructure as a code. It's a pure scripting language. It is not a programming language. It's a scripting language. It has to be very, very clear. PowerShell, AZCLI, Biceps, Terraform, these are scripting languages. Python, R, ASP.NET, C#, F#, these are programming languages. This is a very, very common mistake when people say that, okay, I'm doing infrastructure as code, so I'm a developer. No, no, you are a scripter. You are not a developer. So this is a very, very common misnomer. So I am a scripter. I'm not a developer. So CDK for Terraform is something like, which HashiCorp came up, because HashiCorp realized sooner or later that, okay, even if you are enabling these kind of functionality to the developers, so developers is like, they are very keen in writing the code in VB.NET or ASP.NET or F#, C#, why would they learn another language? Why would they learn HCL? Why would they learn Terraform? It's another huge undertaking. There are few developers, they would love to take those undertakings, but there are most of them, they say that, okay, I want to be in my space. And you give this, and I will do my job. That's all. Now in CDK, the most important part is this, the layer which you see out here. You see that on the top, you have TypeScript, Python, Java, C#, Go. These are the supported programming languages. the way it works is that you write your code in your preferred language which you like. On the underneath, the CDK engine is translating everything into Terraform, into HashiCorp, and deploying it into the cloud service provider. This is one thing which me and my team are exploring heavily, because today what we have is a very self-service automation framework with Azure DevOps and Terraform. And we are using the concept of GitHub inner source. And that is how we have enabled self-service for last 1 year for 9 projects. That is how we are working. And we are exploring 2 options, CDK for Terraform and also IDP. There are like 3 IDPs which we have selected. One is Cortex, another is Port, and third is Backstage. So these are the IDP portals, which we would like to club together and build the whole internal developer portal, a self-service equivalent, so that every developer can take over and build their own infrastructure when they want, how they want. Now, it's like, this is what I tried to explain here a little bit about decentralized DevOps and everything, that how it is covalent to this. And this is why, this is how, I just tried to summarize, because, there's a huge documentation available. I'm not going through that. But I just put together a 2 minutes read, which is enough for you to understand what CDK is doing. Okay. Now, this is a 4-part blog, and as you see, and the next part, it's like, setting up the Terraform, CDK for Terraform, and how you are doing it. So I will quickly show you. I will just walk you through a little bit out here, and then, I can tell you. Okay. So of course, a few things here, like, as I said, I'm not a programmer. I'm a scripter. So, Python are too much for me. So I am like, I have my specialty in writing Terraform and PowerShell and AZCLI. Anything you want, I can do it. But I'm not very good in TypeScript or Python. This is not my core area. So when I was developing this, I said, oh my God, it's Python. How should I do it? Because I don't know Python. So what I did is I took the most easiest language, which is TypeScript. And it's very easy to understand. I could easily follow. And this is what I'm trying to show you today. So for the context of this speaker session, I have the cloud service provider as Azure. And I'm using the language called TypeScript. And then, I am first setting the whole CDK for Terraform environment. So the first thing is like, you have to have Terraform installed. The second is Node and Yarn, which you see that it has to be installed. Then you need to install CDK for TF, CDK for Terraform. Then I'm validating every single details. And then, I'm explaining you the whole structure and everything. So I have a small demo out here. So here you see that, in my directory. So in my C drive, I have this Terraform CDK directory, and then, I have created this Azure. And then, I have like resource group, log analytics, and manage identity. Yeah.
Can you make it a bit bigger?
Sure. If I can. If you want, I can. I think the browser one is pretty much easy. Okay. Is this okay? Sure. Is this big enough? Okay. Okay. So, so I have this directory and everything. You can see it here, like, so if I show you this, so, I have this Azure directory, I have .NET and some GitHub. So I'm going for Azure directory where I have everything. So the first thing is, validating that, if I have Terraform installed. Okay, so I have my Terraform installed out here. Okay, then I have like Node version. If I have Node, I have Node. Then I will check with Yarn. Okay, I have all these installed. It's pre-installed. I have already installed it. Now, the most important part here is that I will make a directory out here. Okay, so okay, inside this, I will make another directory, which is, I will make another directory called RG. Okay. Now I will go to the newly created directories. Okay, what happened? Ah, okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So I've created like few command sets because I don't have to go again and again. So what I did is like I have also installed cdk-tf. So if you can like this is also installed, and this is the help command. If you want to go for the version 1, go for the version 1 and check if everything is okay. So this is like the local setup. Now, why this is important in the local setup is because sooner or later, you will, when you will run in the local one, then you have to translate that into your build agent when you are integrating with Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions or any other CI/CD provider. So it's very important that you understand that how it works locally, so that then you can translate that, how it will be configured in your build agent. That is very important. That is why we did, I did everything locally out here. Now, what I will do is, the first thing is that this command. Now, what this command is doing, it's like initializing the Terraform CDK. I'm just initializing it, but then I'm providing the template as TypeScript. Because when I'm passing the language, then it knows, the Terraform CDK knows that, okay, now the person wants to, a developer wants to build the infrastructure, but the language which they want to use is TypeScript. And here I'm passing it local because I'm running it everything locally. So if I'm initializing this, okay, so it is asking me the name of the project, which I will happily write it as RG, okay. Then it is asking me a project description, okay. I will put it like, create a resource group using cdk-tf. I did it. Okay, do you want to start from an existing Terraform project? No, I don't. Then do you want to send report, crash report? For now, I will just type it no. And then, it is asking me that, okay, which are the providers, in the Terraform you want to use it. Now, since I'm going to use an Azure provider, so what I will do is I will select Azure RM, which is Azure Resource Manager. I'm not going to use it, but at least I will select Azure AD, which is the Enter ID. And once it is done, I will just press Enter. You see the 2 values there, and it starts installing. So what exactly happened? So everything got installed. Now let's move to the Explorer. And now you see that, in this one, I have this Azure one. Did it happen here, or did it happen somewhere? Okay. Okay. Yes. So this whole folder structure got created. This is what I tried to articulate in my blog post. So we followed all these steps and everything, and then finally you have these initializing locally, This all got initializing, and then all the folder structure got created out there. You see that everything is there exactly like what we have in our here. Now the most important part here is that this gives you a complete folder structure. So I mean, like when you are using when a developer is using a CDK for Terraform, he doesn't have to think through that, okay, how is the folder structure, or how we are going to write it. So everything is here. So you see this main.ts, if I put it in the Notepad++, you see that it has now given me a very concrete code block in TypeScript that how you are going to construct, like if you want to create a resource group, or you are going to create a log analytics or any other service. So this whole construct is given to you in TypeScript, and HashiCorp has already given you that, okay, you are supposed to be using defined resources here. So you're going to define all the code out here. Now if you go here in the .gen folder and everything, you will see that providers, and you will see that we installed Azure RM and Azure AD. So if you go to Azure RM provider, you will see that all the providers, everything, if you need API management, if you need an API inside an API management, if you need resource group, if you need any single thing, B2C, all the providers are available here. And when you are going to write a code, you are basically going to import all the particular services which you want to write. You are going to import from this .gen folder provider Azure RM, and then you specify the resource group. So if I select for the resource group, you have the resource group out here, and this is how I'm going to import it. Now to save time and everything, what I have done out here is that, so this is the one which you see out here, that this is a code block, but how that whole things look like, I will show you in a minute. So I have these already created. So this is like my already created one, and I will just open it. Now you see that this is the one when I initialize CDK for particular service. So this is my default code block, and this is a code block which I have written in order to deploy a resource group using CDK. So you see that these two is already provided here by default. The rest two blocks I added. So first I imported the Azure RM provider, because I'm going to deploy in Azure, and then in the second line I am providing the resource group. You see that it's .gen provider Azure RM resource group and everything, the one where we were previously there. And then this is the exact block, but since I'm going to use a name, I provided a string value, and here this is the one which we have to provide because we are using an Azure RM provider, and this is according to the CDK documentation. If you are using AWS, then probably you have to use a different syntax. And finally here, a very simple code block, where I am specifying that, okay, I'm going to create a resource group, and this is the name I'm going to pass on, and this is the location I'm going to pass on. So it has nothing to do with what you are doing and what exactly we are doing in the core native Terraform, but it's more related to the TypeScript and everything. Now, since we have this and everything, what we do is I will go to that directory. I will go here, and what I will do is I will first run CDK synth, okay? Why I'm going to run CDK synth is because it is going to synthesize, and what the CDK-TF synthesize does is for the first time when you're running, it's a vanilla. You have nothing. But when you're running for the next time, you need to compare what was there previously and what you are doing now. So you have to do that comparison. So this synthesize is basically doing that whole comparison, that what has been changed, so that when it is running, it will tell you whether it's a new thing which you are deploying, or there's a feature which is getting added, or you are deleting something. It will give you that kind of a familiarity, because it is doing a comparison between your previous state and your current state. So that is how it is doing. So I have these. Sorry, where is my command one? Yeah. So I have these all commands and everything. So yep. Okay, what did I do wrong? Okay. So I'm now synthesizing, which means that it is looking into my this file main.ts. So it is looking into my main.ts that okay, what it is actually going to do. Now what I will do is, now I'm going to run, because I have made the change. Now I'm going to run that. Now with this one, CDK deploy, and I'm passing auto approve so that I don't have to manually press yes, no, or something. And now with this command, I am basically going to deploy a resource group. So you see here out here, see the plan one to add, 0 to change, 0 to destroy. This is what I was talking about. The synthesize, if I'm making some changes and everything, it will show you. So if I go to the Azure portal and everything, it will take some time to reflect. Yeah, you see that we have this resource group available. Now, if we are going back, one step, so I have another 2 folders, which is one is log analytics. Okay, so if I go back to the same folder structure and everything, if I go one back, and if I go to the log analytics folder out here, again it's the same structure, nothing changes. But you have to when you are building all the services one by one, then probably you have to initialize all those CDK for Terraform in each of the folders, so that it is separating it out. It is not like one time you did and you are doing everything. So again, I did all the steps initializing TypeScript and everything. I got the code block, and then again, this is the one. So here you see that again, last time we imported resource group, this time importing log analytics, and again it is from then the same thing. And here I'm assuming that with this syntax, I'm assuming that am cdk-rg, this value of resource group is already available in Azure portal, and inside that I want to deploy my log analytics. And with that, I want to have a retention of this queue is this, and so on and so forth. So it's all the same thing, same construct, same thing, same TypeScript construct. You don't have to learn anything. You just have to feed the right value. And if I go back to my PowerShell again, so I'm already here. So I will just run again the same command. I'm again first of all synthesizing, and then I am deploying. It will take some time. In the meanwhile, what I'm going to show you next is, I have to reduce the font a little bit. Thank you. The next one which I'm going to show is that I am now, it's not a very straightforward, but I'm now trying to integrate this whole CDK with Azure DevOps. Now, the problem with HashiCorp is that since they are partnered with AWS, all their documentation and the examples which they have is all related to AWS. It's very difficult to find something related to Azure, and that is where we try to build more and more. When we went to their conference and everything, we always say to them that, hey, why you are not writing anything as Azure as an example or Oracle as an example? And they said that it's lack of funding, because AWS is funding them like anything to test on their infrastructure and everything. So that is why all the documentation is with AWS. So it's very difficult. It's very hard to, when you are doing such kind of a thing in Azure or any other cloud service provider minus the AWS. It's very difficult. It's very hard. So I have few documentation which I would like you to show that, this is the one which I showed you earlier. This was like a quick demo and everything which I could find, which was not straightforward, but yes. Also in my blog post, if you go on the first one and you scroll down, you will, oh, not this one, sorry, the setup and the configure one. If you scroll down, you will see that here I have put together all the troubleshootings which I did. Like I had to troubleshoot like 4 or 5 times. I recorded every single thing. What was the error 1? What was the error 2? What was the error 3, 4, 5, and everything. I tried to narrow down everything. So if somebody is setting this whole environment based on my blog post and thing, I am 90% sure that you won't land up into problem. 10% something, you can ping me over GitHub or something. I can help you out. But yeah, I'm 90% sure that you will be able to set up everything as it is stated out, because all the errors troubleshooting is also recorded out here. So yeah.
You will give me later these links, and we will.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will send you. I will send you today evening as well. Yeah, you can post it. There's a lot of links here. So, so as I said, here I found a very good article out here in the HashiCorp documentation where there are much more services related to Azure. You see that here they are importing not only virtual network, resource group, Linux virtual machine. I intend to extend my series more and more, not only like how to integrate with Azure DevOps, but also with GitHub and Octopus. I also would like to set up that, okay, how would you set a backend module and you are writing the front-end module with a TypeScript and so on. So this is something I would like to do. But for now, what I did in my blog post is like, since I'm using the build agent offered by Microsoft, so Microsoft hosted agent, so Microsoft hosted agent doesn't have those CDK for Terraform by default enabled. So I have to set my build agent in a way so that I can run the CDK for Terraform. And this is what I did for Microsoft hosted build agent and for the Linux hosted build agent. But before that, let me see if we completed the log analytics. So the log analytics got completed. If I go to the resource group and I refresh it, I have the log analytics workspace. So this is how. So you can build services like anything. The folder structure is like this. I have CDK for Terraform, and then I have Azure, and you create each folder. You initialize with CDK. You can select the language as TypeScript, Python, Java, whatever it is. Once you initialize it, HashiCorp is providing you the whole template, how you have to write the code. You don't have to start from the very beginning. You just have to feed the cloud information, what you want to do. The REST construct is already there. So, but this is just the beginning. A lot can be done, of course. So I'm here. Now, if I go to the pipelines part, so normally what I do is like, I have a big giant one repo. Like, you see that, I have one big repo, and then inside I have like folders and everything. And what I do as a part of Azure DevOps best practices is that, since this can be used by multiple people or multiple team members, and everybody will be executing the pipeline, so I normally create the pipeline folders out here. When I create the pipeline folders, you see that if I can find the CDK, yeah, I could find it. And then I have like, 2 different versions. One is Windows, another is Linux. So what I will do is, I will simply run the pipeline. So this, while the pipeline is running, let me explain it that, what it is doing. The first is the objective is very simple, that, I'm trying, because I'm trying to install everything with Chocolate. So I'm trying to see that if the Chocolate package manager is available in the Microsoft hosted build agent. Then I'm trying to see that if Terraform is installed in the build agent. If not, my pipeline will install it and then validate it. If Node is installed, if Yarn is installed, if CDK is installed, because these are all the prereq. So if I'm able to do this in my Microsoft hosted agent, then I can perform the similar action and I can do it in the self-hosted agent. So you can have your own VMs in Azure, or you can have your own setup, and then you can run it as a part of the build agent. So it was very important for me to check in the Microsoft hosted agent, because this is the first step towards integrating CDK with Azure DevOps. Because what I showed you is very immediately how you can start it locally. But when you are doing it in a real productive environment, you would not like to run the code locally. You can do it for the dev and test. But when you're doing for the production one, then probably you need to have modules, you need to have the front-end code, you need to have a CI/CD integration, and so on and so forth. So this is why this is the very, very first step of mine to integrate with Azure DevOps. And finally, this is like everything which is happening out here. You see that it is telling me that the latest Chocolate version is 2.4.1, and the rest of the things is happening. While it is getting installed and I can show you the final version, I will take a minute here that everything is like, whatever you see out here, like for example, you see CDK for Terraform and everything, okay? Now, you can see from here, you can also go to GitHub. You can directly go to GitHub, and here you will see that I have exactly in the same way. The 0.1 is the quick start, then 0.2 setup, code source, CDK, and everything. And if you want to see the pipelines and everything, it is all available. The code is available out here. What I'm trying to do, everything is out here. Yeah. So today in my office, we are trying to collaborating with our front-end developers. There were also like few people in Madrid who are excellent in Python, so they are collaborating with us. So what we are trying to do is like, we are trying to build a module structure. So there will be like, for example, you want to build an API management. So the engineering part of the API management, you want to create 1 or you want to create 10. If you want to have like 1, 2, 3 settings, whatever it is, that will be in the backend module. And the front-end module, you are writing this Python script or the TypeScript, which is basically calling those modules. And this is being checked out by your pipeline during the execution, run over the build agent, and then pushed it over the Azure subscription.
Is it open source, or it's
No, it's a proprietary of HashiCorp. It's a proprietary of HashiCorp. I cannot say the licensing model, Jose, because very recently HashiCorp has been acquired by IBM, and the licensing models are changing. Yeah. You want to ask something? Okay. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is that everything which you see it in my blog post, you will also see it here. So if you, for example, if you see it in my quick start, you will find everything here. So my blogs are also version controlled. So whatever I write in dev.to, it is also version controlled in GitHub. So the materials are the same. And then you can look into the code for everything. So if you want to have a setup and configure, you will find everything out here. So this is something. Now I go back to this one. It is still installing, but this was the last demo which I wanted to show you. But if you guys have any questions, I am open for you to answer till the time it is going on or after that. Yeah, go for it.
So we want to build up Terraform knowledge
Yep.
and deploy our Azure functions with it. A colleague of mine is now getting all the information. So is CDK, if he gathers information about Terraform, wants to work with Terraform, is CDK something he stumbles across, or is it something on top?
So it's something on the top.
Okay.
It's something on the top. So a Terraform engineer like me, cannot do CDK because it needs a programming expertise. The one example which I showed you with TypeScripts, it's very easy to understand. That's why I showed you. Because if I have to do this with Python, it's too much for me because I have to learn Python, I have to learn the syntax. It's not like, you know, in today's world, anybody knows Python because we have ChatGPT, but that's not the case. So you have to have that kind of a knowledge in order to write a proper code, which I don't have. So the ones which I am doing with TypeScript is very, very easy. TypeScript is very easy to understand. It's a React. It's not a very, very code heavy and everything. But you know, you need to have that programming language. It's just an element of the top for the developers, enabling them to build the infrastructure.
And it makes it easier.
It makes them easier. And HashiCorp is building more and more such things like, you know, to build you the construct so that you are not starting from ground up, but you are starting from level 3, not from level 0.
Great. I will tell him about it.
Yeah, sure, sure. You know, happy to, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm a bit curious about how do you ensure that, let's say you have like a hosting service like Azure App Service, or
Yeah.
take anyone, you want to be able to instantiate one of those in AWS, one in Azure, one in Alibaba Cloud, whatever.
Yeah.
And you want to ensure the same hardening measures, like
Yeah.
should be behind the firewall,
Yes.
should have enabled
Mhm.
TLS 1.3 by default, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
What do you do then? Because you need to configure the same for every cloud. How do you structure that one?
So that's not the part of CDK Terraform, but it's more part of the landing zone. So it's a part of the landing zone because why? You cannot onboard any project to any cloud unless and until there is a proper landing zone, which means that in Azure, if you are taking a subscription, then your company should have those Azure policies inherited from your management group to your subscription to your resource group. It has to be propagated in a way where there are guardrails. So if you are able to deploy an Azure web app without a TLS connection, and you are excluding the TLS because it's much easy for you to deploy your application code, it has to be governed by the policies, not by CDK. So if your platform team has created that whole policy as a code and it has inherited in the landing zone, then in your CDK, you are forced to use TLS because there is no other way. You cannot deploy it because the moment you deploy it, it will throw you an error that you have not enabled TLS 1.2, and that is why you cannot deploy it. So it's more a question towards landing zone rather than CDK. I hope I could.
Could it also be prepared as a module? Not that I have to deploy it
Yes.
times until
This is, yeah, exactly. So
every
correct.
boundary that is
Absolutely. So infrastructure as a code is about build and run, right? When I'm saying policy as a code, that is DevSecOps. So there is a security team who has built the policy as a code, and then they are running it over a CI/CD platform. So this is DevSecOps. So once they have implemented that, so first is the subscription vending. So you have an enterprise agreement in Microsoft, and from there you are carving out a subscription. That's subscription vending. Once you have carved out a subscription, before you deliver it to somebody, you are running the policy as a code as a part of your organization DevSecOps. Once you run it, then you are providing it to the whole platform team. This platform team can be a set of developer or a pure infrastructure engineer like me. So depending upon that, whoever is running, they cannot do anything outside because your security engineer has made sure that you are forced to use that setting in your infrastructure as a code. That's how it falls through in the hierarchy. Yep. Nope. Compliance. Yes, because they are still juggling through the battling of taking the code from HashiCorp, and it's still ongoing. People are using it, OpenTofu. It's not that people are not using it, but since we are running everything, and when there is any kind of audit and everything, we thought of a concept of OpenTofu and everything, but this is because they're still juggling with the battle of HashiCorp. It's still ongoing because they are claiming that OpenTofu has taken over everything which is in HashiCorp, and they have just cloned it. As they're still in the battling phase. And since now IBM is in the picture, that is why it's the most heavy compliance going on. Yeah, I mean, like in, yeah, I mean, like, but you know, since they have gone really far, open tofu and everything, I'm very sure that you know they will, in a couple of months, you know, they will also provide this provider and everything, because they're really going very fast. Yeah.
But when you want to do like kind of this programming language stuff,
Yeah.
don't better go for Pulumi directly?
Yes, that's also a very, very good one. You know, Pulumi, I have never experimented, but this is also something, you know, which people can do. I totally agree. I definitely agree that. But, you know, as I said that, you know, since I'm coming from a heavy Terraform, so I'm like in my organization, I'm trying to do. But yes, Pulumi, absolutely, totally agree. Anybody else? Go for it.
Work with the providers. You selected the Azure provider. You always get all versions that are out there, or you're like behind and waiting.
No. So the Azure, I mean, whenever you are initializing it, the provider is absolute the latest one. So this is also something we are talking about when we are building this in our company, because you know, in GitHub we have this Dependabot. So Dependabot is something like, you know, which you can automatically version upgrade and everything. But the problem of Dependabot is that it only upgrades the provider version. It doesn't upgrade the Terraform version. So with Dependabot, of course, you can do this. But again, you know, the CDK version can be upgraded. But again, the Terraform version has to be manually upgraded, because this is not right now supported by Dependabot. Okay, so I will just conclude by showing you that, you know, everything, you know, which was written in the blog, in the objective part, it is just like, it is all showing up here that the latest Terraform version is 1.10.5, then you have the latest node version, you have the yarn version available, you have CDK for Terraform not installed, it is getting installed, and now the whole build agent is ready for you to integrate and run CDK. That's all. So if there is no more questions, then thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for coming. Again, sorry for the mask. I got a bit of a immune problem, so it's good. And we will stop. And for the people online, thank you so much for coming, and see you the next one.